Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Today's story takes place behind the counter of a well-known cafe, where corporate slogans and ethical posters covered up something far uglier. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. A 25-year veteran supervisor thought he was untouchable. I'm a computer technician now, but in college I was a part-time barista at Seattle's finest. It was my first real job after babysitting and the occasional under-the-table shift helping friends at Renaissance fair booths. Our store had two leaders, a living lesson that titles and skill rarely match. The official manager was Eliza. She had grand ambitions and treated our location like a brochure. She preached brand standards and making this the finest, Seattle's finest, but she couldn't run the store. Even after she should have been able to free pour lattes in her sleep, she still used recipe cards. During a rush, she'd vanish into the back office only to reappear and urge us to smile. Company policy required retail managers to have college degrees. Eliza got the title because she had one. Then there was Steven, the lead shift supervisor who actually ran the place. He never let you forget his 25 years there, starting at 16. He loved assuring new hires that the business would go to crap without him, as if the city's morning caffeine routine depended on his croissant orders. Steven didn't do much manual labor. He delegated, signed for deliveries, wrote the schedule, and most importantly, made himself indispensable while we did the work. If it was a Saturday noon with a line 10 deep, I'd run register and make drinks while he sent the other worker to lunch and counted boxes in the back. If you asked why he wasn't helping, he'd grin, "You've got to have your baptism of fire." His other favorite hobby was performing small humiliations for customers. Forgive her, she's new. You see what I have to work with? Raw recruits. On bad days, he called us dumb butts if we weren't fast enough. It was always packaged as joking, but it never felt like a joke when you were sweating through a surge and he was enjoying the show. When I interviewed, Eliza promised me at least 20 hours a week, 4-hour shifts that fit my class schedule and Saturdays only. For my 2-week training, she kept her word. Then Steven took over my schedule and it became a weapon. At first, he followed Eliza's routine. After a few weeks, he started accidentally scheduling me during my classes. When I reminded him, he'd look disappointed as if I'd betrayed him. "In my 25 years," he said, "one of the first things you learn is to be a team player." I kept calm. "I can't do mornings, so I'm in class." He sighed dramatically. "I'll have to talk to Eliza to see what we have to do about you." Eliza was rarely around long enough to care. Steven, who opened the store daily, declared himself the caffeine mayor. He soon cut my hours to 8 a week, usually a Friday night close and a Saturday morning open. Just enough to keep me on the roster, but perfectly crafted to make my life difficult. I knew why. He spent hours chatting with his favorites, mostly younger women he flirted with. He tried it with me too. Nothing I could document, but enough hints to make my skin crawl. He suggested I play ball for more hours. No thanks. I was there to pay for textbooks, not audition for a midlife crisis. You're gross and married. Steven also fancied himself superior for speaking Spanish. We had a few early regulars who spoke only Spanish, and he treated it like his personal superpower. The problem? My father's from Spain. I'm fluent. One Saturday, I opened with him, and I chatted naturally with a Spanish-speaking customer while ringing up her order. She complimented my Spanish. Steven frowned like he'd bitten a lemon. After that, whenever a Spanish-speaking customer walked in, he'd jump up, "I'll handle this," as if he had to reassert his domain before it vanished. Eliza was gunning for district manager. She called a Sunday meeting about shrinkage, product loss. She lectured us about giving away cookies, discounting for friends, and properly logging employee meals. She warned that corporate was visiting soon and our shrinkage had to improve. I never saw anyone give product away on my shifts, except Steven. Steven handed out discounts like candy. He gave freebies to favorites. He broke the rules. He turned around and accused us of stealing. He'd even rant in meetings, "Shrinkage is caused by rookies who think a company runs on fee-fees. We lose money by people stealing product." Once another coworker finally asked him about his freebies, Steven just shrugged. "Managers have certain privileges." "Dude, you're not a manager. You make $3 more an hour than I do, and you've never left. Calm down." Most of us were college students just passing through, which he hated. He'd launch into working-class hero diatribes about lazy, affluent kids. He'd tease me for majoring in computing as a woman, calling my degree a MRS degree. He said it like it was a joke, but it landed like slime. Then he'd preach about how the business world would crumble without him, as if pulling espresso shots made him as indispensable as the CEO. The real problem was that Eliza's promotion hinged on reducing shrinkage. Corporate was coming in days to watch her run the store. Eliza was scrambling to make everything perfect, but Stephen didn't care. His bonus was safe as long as shrinkage was under a certain level. Eliza needed it lower. He had no incentive to make her look good. We were paid every 2 weeks, but tips from the register jar were distributed weekly. Not a fortune, but enough for laundry or groceries. One frigid morning, I walked over to collect mine. I planned to enter through the front, but from the alley, something made me pause behind a car. The daily delivery had arrived. Stephen was hauling crates inside, the back door propped open with a trash can, a crate of croissants and $2.99 nutrition bars sat outside on the dock. His work seemed done. He pulled out his phone and a beat-up car rolled into the alley. The trunk popped, Stephen hoisted the stray crate and slid it in. The car sped off. Stephen went back inside like nothing happened. My first instinct was to rationalize. Maybe it's a store transfer. Maybe there's a reason I don't know. I realized the truth on my walk home. The next morning, I went in early, waited, and saw him do it again. I tried to record from my hiding spot, but it was too dark. Just a murky outline of a man, a car, and a transfer. At work that Saturday, Stephen was his normal self, but I replayed the alley scene all day. I remembered him mentioning his wife's side business, selling snacks outside clubs and games. He'd found a perfect side hustle, steal a crate of pastries and bars, sell them cheap, pure profit. I knew if I took a vague story to Eliza, Stephen would deny it, and Eliza, who could barely manage a rush, would take the easiest path. So I set a trap. An apartment complex across the alley had a wall overlooking our back door. If I could get in, I could hold my phone over the wall and get a clear shot. I did that every morning for a week. He stole 3 crates in 4 days. This time the video was clear. His face, the woman driving, probably his wife, the crate going into the trunk, all time-stamped. I wasn't scheduled again until the following week, but corporate's big visit for Eliza's promotion was Monday afternoon. I knew Stephen would be front and center, basking in the attention while Eliza in the suit smiled and talked standards. I decided not to be subtle. I wasn't on the schedule, but I could always go to the back room to get my tips. Besides the time clock, the backroom computer fed the store TV, a loop of a propaganda video about ethical beans, charity, and STEM funding for women. That video file ran continuously, and it wasn't locked down. At home, I edited my 3 clearest recordings into one file. I brought my phone and a cable. When I walked in, Eliza was in full hostess mode. She spotted me and announced loudly, "Oh, everyone, this is OP, one of our best. She's majoring in computing." The executives offered polite, vacant smiles, nods, the standard corporate, ooh, ah. I just said I was there for my tips. Behind her, Stephen wore a glossy kiss-kiss grin. He looked at me like he wanted to hit me with his ego, but also like he felt utterly untouchable with corporate in the room. I went to the back, collected my tips, $11.50, not bad, plugged my phone in, and replaced the Seattle's finest propaganda loop with Stephen the Thief on repeat. Then I walked out like it was any other day. At first, no one noticed the screen. It was background noise, no one looks up. The beauty was in that. I walked up to Stephen and ordered a hot latte. He glared with venom that could curdle milk, but he smiled because the suits were watching. He made the drink swiftly. When I reached for my wallet, he waved me off with fake charm. "It's on the house." Eliza nodded, thinking she was witnessing good customer service. I sat at a table near the executives and waited. On the big screen, Stephen stealthily looped, hauling alley crates, loading a trunk, a car driving away. Again. Finally, one of the bigwigs squinted. "Eliza, that's not our company video. What is that?" Eliza looked up. So did everyone else. Mouths fell open. The room hit a wall of silence. Stephen stood there smiling, clueless, like a man posing for a photo while his house burned down behind him. Eliza's voice was strained. "Stephen, could you explain this?" He turned, saw the TV, and looked like he was calculating an Olympic sprint out the front door. He bolted for the back room instead. The video ended. Then it started again because I'd planned for that. I deleted the original file and renamed my video to match it exactly. If he tried to fix it, he'd just click into more footage of his theft. So there in the quiet dining room, Stephen and his wife filled a trunk with granola bars and pastries all over again. An executive stood up. "Eliza, we're closing the store, now." He then looked at me, calm but firm, and pointed to the door. "Don't worry," I said, and left like a royal disgrace. I went home with $11.50 in tips and the warm, quiet flush of watching a petty kingdom implode. A few days later, corporate called. They thanked me for the information, said it was a police matter, and sent me a $200 reward in store credit. Classic Seattle's finest. They almost deserve an award for that. When I went back, Stephen was gone. Eliza was suspended temporarily. I heard Stephen and his wife were arrested for the theft. Later, I learned he was also embezzling tips and shaving hours from our timesheets to pad his own. Eliza got her promotion. Corporate decided the shrinkage wasn't her fault, though she was under extra scrutiny. Honestly, if your lead supervisor's running a theft ring out the back door, maybe you shouldn't be hiding in an office. I quit soon after. My school's off-brand coffee shop hired me for $1 more an hour with the same work and fewer egos. Years later, working for a tech startup, I served coffee to Seattle's finest corporate offices. Eliza remembered me. Over the finest coffee in all of Seattle, she told me the rest. Stephen served 6 months. His wife got a suspended sentence because of their 2 young kids. I learned early that there are 2 kinds of people in a workplace, those who do the job and those who treat it like a throne. Stephen chose the throne. I'll take the screen. Stephen's the perfect example of someone who confuses being here forever with being important. Dude treated a coffee shop like a feudal state and thought bullying college kids made him powerful. The screen swap was genius, OP. Also, the fact that you didn't even confront him directly makes it better. No chance for him to spin it, lie, or blame rookies. Just undeniable proof looping endlessly. And our next story. They hated my music. I grew up in the 80s listening to post-punk, new wave, goth, new romantics, all the alternative bands from the UK, US, Canada. A lot of it's in minor key, heavy on the bass and drums, wailing synths, crusty, distorted guitars. You get the picture. Today, Sunday, at around 10 a.m., I went out to the backyard with my Bluetooth speaker, a book, and a coffee to enjoy a beautiful spring morning. I placed my speaker on the table next to me, queued up my favorite playlist, settled in, and started to read. My next-door neighbors, with whom I have a very friendly and positive relationship, hired a contractor to replace their gutters. This contractor's apparently a family friend as he arrived on Friday and stayed for the weekend. They had a couple of nice evenings in the backyard, grilling up steaks and ribs, having drinks and swimming. I should also mention that they are evangelical Christians, only because it's relevant to what happened next. I have nothing against them. I myself am Catholic and fully respect others' religious beliefs. My neighbors left early to attend their regular Sunday church service, leaving the contractor, his wife/assistant, and teenage daughter to finish the work on the gutters. As it happened, they were working just over the fence from me, maybe 10 meters away. My speaker, not particularly loud as it was right next to my head, began playing a song by The Cure, The Walk, unexpectedly. I heard a voice, "Excuse me." I looked over at the fence. I see a man looking at me. "Hey, how are you?" I said. "Great job on the eaves troughs," the Canadian word for gutter. "Yeah, thanks," he said. "Listen, can you turn that music off?" What? I didn't think it was very loud. Sorry, I said, taken aback. "No, it's the music. We don't appreciate that godless music. It's all about death and violence," he said. I was speechless. I gawped at him for another moment. The song was still playing, heading into the final chords. "Look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. That music doesn't go with my Christian beliefs, and I don't want to hear it, or my daughter listening to it," he said. Neither his wife nor daughter were nearby. "Well, sorry, but I'm in my yard listening to my music. There's no rule against that, unless it's after 11 p.m., I said. "I'm sorry, but if you don't like it, it's not my problem." Life During Wartime started playing, as poppy and danceable a tune as ever came out of the 80s. It's Sunday, and like I said, it's seriously against my Christian beliefs to listen to that music, he said. "Well, again, I'm sorry you don't like it, but it's my business what I do in my yard," I said. "If you don't like it, put in earplugs or something." "You're not being very Christian," he snapped. I shouldn't have to listen to it, especially on a Sunday. Then he quoted something from the Bible about the wicked and God making them cry and gnash their teeth. I looked at him for a long moment, then shook my head. Whatever happened to honor the Sabbath and keep it holy, I said. Shouldn't you not be working today? He grew visibly angry at this and yelled something about the Lord's wrath. Look, I said, this is ridiculous. If you don't want to hear it, go work on the other side of the house or put in earplugs or something. I'm trying to enjoy my book. I turned away at this point and left him standing there, presumably glaring at me over the fence. I was secretly a little worried he would throw a tool at me or something, but I kept my profile to him and waited him out. Finally, he snarled and walked off. I heard the ladder clanking as he took it down and went to the other side of the house out of earshot. He worked for the rest of the morning. When I returned from my afternoon walk around 2 p.m., his truck and trailer were gone. I haven't heard from my neighbors and don't intend to bring it up with them. But he did a great job on the gutters. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.